Now, if you met a politician standing on a soapbox in Central Park talking about his or her views about tax levels and the next budget and what's going to happen with refurbishing the armed forces and so on, you might be interested, but you might be a bit skeptical and you'll take it with a grain of salt. What, however, if the rhetoric, if the spin, if the propaganda had been weaponized? What if it was being targeted at you in ways that you don't know about, which are concealed, which are not overt? Well, this, alas, has happened. And it has happened because of our enthusiastic embrace of social media. And it is the use of social media and what happens on the internet now which has made manipulation of groups of people a so much more serious a matter and so much less obvious a matter. Let me explain. You may remember that your president, during the election campaign last year, said, "I am Mr. Brexit." You remember that occasion? "I am Mr. Brexit," he said, "you'll see." And he was quite right, because his campaign team had employed the services of a company which had been very successful in securing the Leave vote in the United Kingdom, a company called Cambridge Analytica. Cambridge Analytica is a big data analytics company. Now, big data is an extraordinarily powerful tool in the natural sciences, in medicine, epidemiology, in examining social trends. What big data analytics does is it trawls hundreds of millions of data points with great rapidity, tremendously powerful algorithms in the computer terminology. And they're able to dig into the patterns that are discerned to get to the kind of granular causes of these patterns. So it's an extraordinarily powerful and very useful tool. But when this tool is applied to the manipulation of people's attitudes and beliefs in the political sphere, it's a somewhat different matter. What happens is this. By using the huge amount of data available in the social media sphere, these companies are able to profile people. Now, you know that if you use Google or any one of these major servers, that Google will profile you. It will profile you in order to be able to target advertising at you. In fact, it tells you this. Every time you go on some website, it'll say, we're going to put cookies on your machine so that we can watch you and we can work out what to send you. So that's familiar. We all know about that. It's been going on for a long time. What you may not know is that your profile, which, by the way, they know more about you than you do yourself, okay? Because they've got such a precise and accurate picture of you, your age, your gender, your sex, your education level, where you live, what you're interested in, and what you do, because it so carefully and accurately monitors all your activity in cyberspace. It's such a knowledge of you that when you go onto the internet to ask a question, to look for some information, who was the fourth wife of Henry VIII? What year did the Norman Conquest take place? Or any question like that, okay? Google will give you the information that it thinks on the basis of your profile that you would like. On the basis of this profiling, what a company like Cambridge Analytica does when it's employed to deal with an election campaign is the following. Firstly, remember that there are two blocks, okay? There is the yes and the no, the in, the out, the Clinton, the Trump, whatever it might be. There are two blocks of voters. You're not pretty well going to change their minds very much. But in between, there are the undecideds, the swing voters. They may be in the 4 big swing states. There may be special reasons why they are undecided or vulnerable or open to persuasion or manipulation. If you can target them, then you might be able to tip enough of them over to get the result that you want. So what you do is, on the basis of your profiling, you identify groups of people. This little group here, you test messaging on them. You see what it is that's bothering them, and you test messages to them. In the case of the Trump team, Cambridge Analytica tested some of their messaging up to 30,000 times to get the message absolutely right, so that that message really resonated with that group. Now you can see how that works, okay? You know, when you hear some politician say something that you agree with, you think to yourself, oh, he's smart, okay, because he's agreed with you, okay? So this message has got out there to that group, and that group says, yes, that's dead right. They've been captured. That really, really works to them. So you've hooked that group in to your man, your Trump, okay? Now that group there might be something different that's bothering them, so you tailor a message to them, you get the same effect. And so for lots and lots of little groups. Now these little groups may have nothing in common with one another other than the fact that they've been captured. They may loathe one another. They may not even know about one another. But they have been aggregated. They've been brought together into a single voting bloc. Enough to tip the balance. The clever thing about this is that you don't have to get a majority. You just have to get enough. As you know, Hillary Clinton got somewhere in the region of 3 million more votes than Donald Trump did in the popular vote. But he got the right votes in the right place, and he got the White House as a result. And those right votes were got by careful targeting regionally and with messaging to groups that were very, very carefully specified. Now, in a way, this would be okay. It wouldn't matter that you were part of a group that was being targeted by very careful messaging, very carefully designed messaging that the people sending you the message know will really work with you. It wouldn't matter if you knew that was happening, if you knew who it was that was sending you the message and why they were sending the message and who was paying for it and what they wanted you to do about it, if it was transparent. But the real problem is that this is not transparent. This is covert. This is hidden persuasion. This is the weaponizing of the propaganda and the spin to manipulate and to direct the vote in very, very crucial, sensitive areas of the undecided voting population in order to get a result. It takes money, and if money is going into a process that people are not aware of and they are being, indeed nudged is the term. After all, the Nobel Prize for Economics was just given to the man who introduced that concept of nudging, of influencing. Now, I was in Australia about a month ago, and I was talking to a member of the security services there, one of whose responsibilities is cybersecurity. And we were talking about the Russian hacking, because, by the way, it's not only the messaging to selected target groups, it's also the hacking of Facebook and of Twitter and of emails. It's also the use not just of pro-Trump messages, but of anti-Clinton messages. In the case of the EU referendum, it was a lot of pro-Leave and sort of anti-Remain, but also, oh, Remain is sure to win. It's going to win easily. So if it rains, you don't have to go out and vote. That kind of messaging too. There was quite a repertoire, quite a palette of different ways in which different people were influenced by the kind of messaging that was coming out. There were claims, for example, that the bookmakers had said it would be more than an 80% probability of a considerable Remain vote. It is predictable to, a sort of a very, very tiny margin of error what the drop in the turnout in an election will be if it rains on the day of the poll. In London, on the 23rd of June last year, which is the day of the referendum, it rained. And the predictable drop occurred, and that drop in the turnout was enough to lose the vote to leave. And which is a lot of people in London had been told that Remain was going to win easily. So, of course, it didn't matter if they didn't go and vote. So this messaging and the targeting of the messages are very, very, very skillful. If they were overt, as I say, absolutely no problem. If we knew who was paying for them and why, absolutely no problem. These techniques are almost certainly going to be used more and more, which is why the demand for transparency is going to be key in our democratic process.